Hello, and this is Deadly Jedley, and welcome to the Deadly Dialogues Part 3. I had a good day today at work, so I thought I'd do another one of these videos for you. Anyway, what I thought I'd talk about today in this video are two main things, but it might branch out into more things, but the two things I want to talk about are guitars and video games. So I'll start off with guitars, right? Now, I've always loved guitars. I don't really play guitar anymore. I used to play an acoustic, an electric, and a bass guitar. And I found myself without a guitar, without the ability to play guitar for a long time. Having a coffee as I do this video. So I got a guitar for my 16th Christmas. I think I was 16 in 2003, and I got my acoustic guitar for Christmas that year, I think. I'll tell you about it. It was an Ibanez PZ320 or something. That was the model name and number. And Ibanez is a Japanese brand of guitar. And it was an extremely good acoustic guitar, and I played it over and over. And I strummed chords. I got guitar lessons at the local music shop. And I found myself getting all right at guitar. And I was able to play one Beatles song on guitar. I say that word a lot, guitar, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? Here Comes the Sun by George Harrison, which is an acoustic Beatles guitar song. So I learned how to play that song. It's like a combination of finger picking and strumming to play Here Comes the Sun. And it goes, here comes the sun, little darling, it's all right. I can't sing very well, as you can probably tell. I'm more of a guitar player. Anyway, then I got myself an electric guitar the following year, I think. It was a Fender Squier. And what Dad did was, because he was still alive, of course, at this time, we went up to Sydney to a shop called Billy Hyde Music in Alexandria, or was it Allen's Music in Alexandria? It was one of the two. It was either Billy Hyde Music or Allen's Music in Alexandria in Sydney. And we got a thing called a Fender Squier starter pack, which was like a cheap electric guitar, an amplifier, and a carrying case, along with guitar picks and extra set of strings in case I broke a string on my guitar, which I ended up doing, as many guitar players will tell you happens all the time. So I had an electric guitar, and I plugged into my amplifier and played along to Led Zeppelin songs in my guitar lessons, which I was still getting at the local music shop. PowerPoint Music it was called, in Mittagong at the time. And then in about 2006, after I finished high school, I started hanging out with a group of guys who were never really my mates. They were just sort of guys I hung out with because I had no one else to hang out with, because I worked full time and I could only do stuff on the weekends. And one of these guys, his name was Adam Noble. And Adam Noble was a shred guitar player from the local area and guitar teacher. And he was from Colo Vale in the Southern Highlands, moved to Wollongong, where that is, south of Sydney, the city of Wollongong, New South Wales, Australia I'm talking about. And he was into all the shred guitar players like Michelangelo Badio, Paul Gilbert, Yngwie Malmsteen, Rusty Cooley, all those sort of guitar players. Adam was into them. He had their videos on his PC. And we ended up at Adam's apartment one night after a night out in Wollongong, I think it was. And early in the morning I woke up and Adam was already up and he was making breakfast. And he said, Jed, check out the guitar instructional videos on my PC. So I went over to his computer, double-clicked on the video file folder and watched these videos. And I got into this guitar player called Michelangelo Badio. He was like the world's fastest guitarist or something. He plays two guitars at the same time. And he's regarded as like the ultimate guitar player for guitar players in guitar playing circles. And then what should happen about 2 years after that, Michelangelo, I was on his website. No, I wasn't. I was on a website called whirlpool.net, which was like an Australian, I don't know if it's still going, but it was an Australian message board for all sorts of things happening in Australia that people wanted to know about. And Michelangelo Badio, like his name is Michelangelo, also known as Michelangelo Badio, was on tour in Australia. And he came all the way to Parramatta, Western Sydney, to do a show at a place called the Corporate Lounge, and I attended this show. I went up. Believe it or not, Adam Noble didn't go to the show, right? But early in that year, Adam and a few of the other guys I hung out with, like Andrew Shortall, Nathan Tipping, and John O'Burton, that was our group, right? And another guy called Mitch Gunling. Because actually, I'll tell you this. I'll branch off topic for a second, off guitars. There was a metal band called Team Extreme Team in Sydney in those years. Adam Noble was a lead guitar player along with a guy called Rob. I never learnt Rob's last name, but Mitch Gunling was the bass player, and I never learnt the drummer's name. But I attended one of their shows in Sydney in a place called Candy's Apartment in King's Cross in early 2006, and they'd been going since about 2004. The idea was Adam Noble wasn't 18 until 2006, so they couldn't play in licensed premises until Adam was 18, because he was the youngest member of the band, and the band was Team Extreme Team, and I think their MySpace page might still be active. And they had a few original songs, but they mainly played covers at their shows apparently. Metal rock covers. They're like a metal rock fusion band, Team Extreme Team, TXT for short. Anyway, back to that show. So I went to the Michelangelo show in Western Sydney, and he's a really fast guitar player, but I didn't find the music very entertaining, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't really call it music, you know? What I said before was earlier that same year, 2008, Adam Noble got us to go up to the Paul Gilbert Clinic in Sydney, which I think might have been Billy Hyde Music in Sydney. So it was Alan's music that Dad took me to get my guitar before that. Then it was Billy Hyde Music that Paul Gilbert Clinic was at in Sydney in 2008. And Paul Gilbert, also a really fast guitar player, but I didn't find the music entertaining. I wouldn't call it music. It was just sort of guitar, show off on a guitar for an hour, right? So that's really good coffee, by the way. So guitars. Then I ended up playing bass guitar on 3 separate occasions at the Australian Cartoonists Association's annual awards weekend called the Stanleys, which is held in November each year, October-November each year, and it's to award the best cartoonists with the award like Cartoonist of the Year, Editorial Cartoonist of the Year, Comic Strip of the Year, everything's like the best of the year. And then someone said there's a band and you're in it, Jet. And there's a band called the Stanley Steamers. Now this band comprised of me and about 4 or 5 other members. It was like a 5 or 6 man band, as opposed to a 4-man band or 3-man band like Green Day or something. And you know, the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd have 4 members like on stage, but there was like 5 or 6 of us on stage, and I played my dad's old Paul McCartney style bass guitar, Hofner bass guitar it's called, but still got it. Now I'll never let go of it. I'll hang on to it forever. So that is my guitar story. The story doesn't end there. I played guitar in the Stanley Steamers in 2008. 2009, I was in the band again at the next awards that year. Then 2010, I was in the band once more on stage, and I get kicked off the stage by someone else who shall remain nameless at this point because he said I missed too many notes. So I was replaced halfway through the show in 2010 as bass player in the Stanley Steamers, that being the the cartoonist band. So, and you know, the guy who kicked me off the stage was the lead guitar player. And I'll never forget him kicking me off the stage. It was crazy. I was doing really well, I thought, playing along, hitting all the notes, and he said I'm missing the notes. So anyway, that's that. That's a bit about guitars in my lifetime. My guitar experience, right? You might call it. So I do like guitars. Now, what else was I going to talk about? Video games, right? Now, video games, I played a lot when I was kind of a little kid, maybe up until about the age of 18. I played games throughout my teenage years. Didn't do so well in some of my school exams because I played too many Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy games on the Sony PlayStation. And the last game I really played was one called Halo 3, which was probably 2007, I think. So I'm pretty sure Dad was still alive when I played it, because I remember playing it and he asked me what it was. I said it's the greatest game of all time, and he smiled at me, like he nodded and smiled. And I remember playing that game, Halo 3 specifically, because it was Halo 2 was the one beforehand on the Xbox, and Halo 3 was on the Xbox 360, so it was the new game on the new console, if that makes sense. Anyway, I played Halo 3 and it was the greatest game. That was the last game I played. That was like, 18 years ago now. I haven't played a game since. But I played Final Fantasy games. They're like role-playing games, they call them, like fantasy adventure games. You have to play them to know what I'm talking about. And you basically walk around and kill enemies and do puzzles, and avoid traps and talk to people and get items, and it's like a whole culture, right? The Final Fantasy culture. Anyway, here's how I started on Final Fantasy games. We were on holidays in 1999. We went to England, and my younger brother had some money, so he bought the game Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation from one of the Virgin Megastores in London we went to, which was Richard Branson's brainchild, the multi-billionaire Richard Branson, multi-billionaire probably by now. And my brother bought Final Fantasy VII, took it home, and I started playing it. And he wasn't too interested in playing it, but he played it a bit with me. And then I got really into it. I ended up finishing this game, Final Fantasy VII. It took me I would have been in year 7 the next year, so I played it in year 7. And a few other boys in my year had Final Fantasy games, so we kind of talked about them at lunchtime. Anyway, Final Fantasy VII was followed by Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX, all on the Sony PlayStation, which I played all 3 of them and finished all 3 of them. I got really good at them, right? I actually know how to play these games. And I probably could play them again today and still know how to finish them. It might take me a bit of practice to get good at them again, if I ever had the time or means to play games again, which one day I hope I would. So, but anyway, then the other thing that happened with Final Fantasy was there was a message board on the internet, a forum it's called the Final Fantasy Online Forums. For members on there, members being the people who joined the message board, like registered an account, similar to how you make a Facebook account. This is before Facebook. This is going back to 2001 for me. I joined the Final Fantasy Online Forums to get help with playing these games. I asked questions, and people would answer your questions, saying, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to find this magic thing, or you got to kill this bad guy. And they would help you to finish the games, these other people all over the world. And I was on these message boards for maybe 6 years until I kind of got over it all, stopped playing those Final Fantasy games, and kind of entered the real world of work and, post-high school life. Because I was probably on these message boards all through my high school years, right? Hence my ability or inability to do as well in my exams at high school as otherwise might have been, if that makes sense. So I was on those message boards, and then other games came and went. I played a few games on the computer when I was younger, like Riven, the sequel to Myst, which was the greatest computer game of all time in 1997. And that one took some finishing. That was really tough to finish for me because I was just a little boy. I was 11 years old. Wait, how old was I in 97? I think I got it in 1998. I had to wait a year to get that game. But that was a great game, Riven, the sequel to Myst. So anyway, and the other game series, of course, was Pokemon, which was really popular when I was at high school among a lot of kids in my year. And again, we talk about Pokemon at lunchtime, and there was Pokemon cards traded at school. Kids would bring their Nintendo Game Boys to school and play Pokemon with each other. And that was in year 7 and year 8, so going back to year 2000, 2001 for me. And then Pokemon kind of faded away after that. It was only really popular for the first couple of years of high school, as I remember. Anyway, that was Pokemon. And the final one is Metal Gear Solid. So Metal Gear Solid was a game series, and I played the original one on PlayStation again, because I had a Sony PlayStation. Every other kid seemed to have the PlayStation 2, but we only had the PlayStation 1, which was still good, but So Metal Gear Solid was a PlayStation game which I finished, and I ended up finishing it over and over and over. I got so good at it, I could finish it in a few hours, 3 hours or something. And it used to take me 10 hours to finish this game. So that's kind of that, That's just me. I was thinking about this earlier. Guitars and video games. Now, this video, I probably won't do one tomorrow because it's Anzac Day here in Australia tomorrow, so I'm going to take some time off. I won't do a video tomorrow because it's a public holiday, and out of respect for the diggers, I won't do a video because I think the world needs to just think about other things on Anzac Day. We remember the diggers, and lest we forget. And the other thing is, I voted today in the federal election. I did an early vote, a pre-vote. So I voted, my vote is cast in the federal election here in Australia. I won't tell you who I voted for, but I will say I voted. Anyway, this is me, Deadly Deadly, with the Deadly Dialogues. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you not tomorrow, but maybe at a later time. Might take a bit of time off. Bye.